Welcome to this week's What's New with Microsoft 365 and Teams for the 6th to the 13th of March. So we're going to be having our regular revised updates. SharePoint's been busy, there's quite a few updates for that. Then we'll go through some Office stuff, some Teams, and then we'll wrap it up with our bite-sized updates, and then we'll talk about how you can keep up to date with the content that I push out. You'll see that I've not really talked about Ignite. The content that comes out of there is amazing. Some of the features I've already talked about. I will talk about them when they're about to happen, and some of the really nice stuff that they're talking about is so far down the line that actually I'll just leave it until it's about to be available. Okay, so some revised timelines. Mac OS native notifications in Teams, that's delayed a little bit, so they're looking at March to mid-April, so that's slipped just a couple of weeks. This retirement has been cancelled, so I talked about this before. This is the ability to share from OneDrive and SharePoint into Outlook. They retired it, they brought it back, they told you that they were going to retire it, now they've changed their mind. Anyway, if you use that, that's fine, because that's not going away. First up, we've got some improved person columns in Microsoft Lists. So as you type, it's going to make suggestions, but the suggestions are now going to come from the graph rather than just being anybody. So it makes it more personalized. Of course, the graph behind the scenes knows everything. It knows who you are, it knows what you do and who you do it with. So based on that knowledge, it's got a much better chance of giving you suggestions which are relevant to you. Look out for that anytime now, between now and late April. SharePoint page analytics. So this is some new analytics for SharePoint pages and news posts. So it's just going to give you information about how your colleagues interact with your news and your posts, and it's going to include page views, the viewers, the average time that each person spends on there, and you can look out for that from early to next April, so next month. This is SharePoint Events web part displaying event images. So it's not a new web part, but it's the ability for authors. So if you author SharePoint pages, it just means that if you do use that web part, it's going to display the image in the title from the title part of the event. It's not going to retrofit this to existing web parts, but the default will be to show two images. This is available for most of us, and I say most of us because some people will get it earlier depending on their organisation, who they are, but the rest of us, we're talking late June, and you know what, maybe I should have put that in one to watch because that's quite a long way out, but look out for that. But it's more information that I've got in the blog that covers that off. I'll probably revisit that near the time. Immersive Reader. So Immersive Reader is proven to help people. It's now coming to some SharePoint pages, so it's going to be modern news and pages, but not the home pages. Initially, it will only read content contained in the text web parts, but I suspect that's going to expand out a little bit. Now, that's another one for mid-June, so that's another one just one to watch. I'll probably revisit that nearer the time. Moving on to Teams and Forms. So, you know, when you use forms, standalone forms, it does a pretty good job of looking at what you're doing and then making good suggestions for the questions and the answers. So it's now going to bring that technology into Teams, and it means that it makes better suggestions about the content based on the title, about things that you've previously done, and it's going to help out with your multiple choice questions. This is late March, so over the next couple of weeks, it should be done by the end of April. Now, a lot of us are still working from home, but when we get back out on the road, this might be useful. So it's the ability for your mobile version Teams to use less data. Okay, so you can go into the settings and you can say you want it to reduce its data usage, either never when you're using your mobile data, or you can have it on all the time. So I think it's 500 kilobits per second that it's limited to. Look in the notes for the link back to the blog and I'll confirm that. Rollout's already begun and should be complete by mid-March, so anytime now that should be done. So here's an update that has already happened. So when you go to office.com, previously you can see on the screen now, it used to show you your recent documents, shared with me, pinned and discover. And look over to the right hand side, it's going to show you what it's been replaced with. So it's all my recent, shared and favorites, and it spans cloud, email attachments, your local files. This is available now. Now there's Microsoft put out quite a big update with this. There's a lot of information, there's some Q&As. So if you're interested in that, hop over to the blog, look in the notes of the video or the podcast, and then follow the link to the blogs. There's quite a lot of information on this one. So this is general availability of guest support in Yammer. So the community admins can invite guests to a community. Now the admins of Yammer networks aligned to native mode must enable this first. By default, guest access is going to be turned off, and quite rightly it probably should. And it moves from public preview to general availability later this month. So over the next couple of weeks you'll get that. Okay, so we're starting to wrap up already. So bite-sized updates, changes coming to the default new Yammer settings. So you go to the next phase of settings. So people who have opted in, it's going to become their default soon. Now there's quite a bit of this. So if again hop over to the blog, because there's quite a list there of the updates which have happened recently. So I'm not going to go into it now because this is a bite size and would have gone on too long already for it. But hop over and just have a look at that if you're a Yammer user. Microsoft To Do updates will be available on iOS and Mac, but they're quite strict about the version that's available. Okay, so nice quick one. So what's that? 7 minutes or so. So I know that keeping up with Microsoft and Office 365 is tricky. Stuff comes out daily. But some options for you to keep up, either on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, the podcast over at the website. Just do a search for Super Simple 365 or look in the notes. During the week, the tweets come out almost daily. And then I'll have a roundup at the end of the week. But folks, we're done. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.